So I'm going through a particular phase in my development in which I'm experimenting with going forth into homelessness. Yeah. So I gave up the community, the men's community that I lived at around Clissold Crescent, near Clissold Park. And I've just been moving around, usually between 7 days and 14 days maximum, just staying at various hostels and just seeing what happens. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I'm just going to give this talk on renunciation, and part of my practice in that context of stepping into the unknown. So when I first got into meditation, I just saw it as a kind of practical stress relief. Life was stressful working at an IT department at the University of London, and it kind of worked. But then I hit a block for about 2 or 3 years. I was sort of meditating regularly, but I was kind of drying up internally. There wasn't much happening. And luckily there was a drop-in class on Monday evenings after work, in which a person from the LBC came and taught meditation. And that's where I sort of noticed that sort of meditating on my own is fine, but meditating with a group adds something to it. And I also got introduced into the Metta Bhavana. The practice I usually did was the mindfulness of breathing, or Zazen, just sitting. But I found the Metta Bhavana quite challenging. So I didn't do it for a couple of years. So even though the teacher was teaching Metta Bhavana, I would just do the mindfulness of breathing. Yeah. Okay. So I couldn't see why. I could see why the mindfulness of breathing would work, but not why the Metta Bhavana would work. So I didn't do it. And I noticed certain things. Again, I would get up to a point, and then I was kind of plateau, and then I would just be stuck. Yeah. And then I thought, okay, why not give the Metta Bhavana a try? and see what happens. Yeah. So I did it, and then after a couple of months, I noticed that the people I was having difficulties with, they were no longer having difficulties with, and I sort of given up trying to change them because that didn't work. But somehow they were changing, and I wasn't trying to change them. And I sort of worked backwards. That okay, I put a guy in my Metta Bhavana practice, and then a month later, he changed. Our relationship changed. Okay, try someone else, and they changed. So I was more of the opinion. What I need to do is, I just need to change other people. Give them a bit of force feed them, a bit of dharma, get them chilled out, and then that will sort themselves out, But actually, it's, it takes two to tango. It's much easier, I found it difficult changing myself, using the Metta Bhavana, and but by persisting with it, I eventually sort of turned around the way I view difficult people. Yeah, let's put it that way. The way I work with difficult people had to change because I noticed that that difficult work person was a reflection of me. Yeah. So it was kind of it was an unacceptable version of me hiding in my blind spot that I didn't see, and the difficult person was like a mirror to that. You know, this is something you do. You know, this is So so through my practice, I just sort of noticed that yes, the metta bhavana does work. The mindfulness practice makes you very sharp at noticing what's going on, and what's going on most of the time is horrendous. You know, a lot of people are unaware, self-centered, blah blah blah. Yeah. Before I didn't notice that. But as soon as you do the practice, you just sort of notice more and more, and then what do you do in response to all that? You know, get more irritable, stop meditating. Tried all that. My journey took over 15 years. You know. So I tried various things, and the only thing that did work was sort of engaging with that, actually seeing that the difficult people had something to teach me. The phrase I remembered is a Vajra guru. You know, it's a guru that sort of puts you through the tough bit, because those are the things you need to work with. You know, the easy bits you've kind of worked with early on, but then you have to sort of expose parts of yourself that you habitually avoid having to deal with. And the difficult people were an opportunity to sort of deal with it externally. And then in the meditation, my experience is, yes, I have a lot more in common with them. And then the more I was friendly towards my inner voice, which could be quite critical, quite abusive, and then sort of it's like, okay, when somebody else is abusing me, I get all upset over it. But when I'm sitting on the cushion and I'm mentally abusing myself, I'm not good enough, I'm this and that, the other, I'm just sort of, I'm not challenging it. Yeah? And so, again, part of the challenge of the Metta Bhavana was actually sort of challenging a lot of the negative conditioning that I grew up under. And the environment, which I thought was okay. It's like, no, it's not okay. My practice now is more about renunciation. And initially, I was quite resistant to renunciation. My idea of renunciation is giving up things you enjoy. And it's a bit more than that, yes. One side of it is giving up things you enjoy, but the opposite side is giving up suffering. Yeah. Now, why would we want to hang on to suffering? Why would we not want to give up suffering? And for me, it was more like there is something about being a victim that allows you to express aggression. So, if you have trouble with your own inner anger or frustration or whatever, thinking of yourself as a victim gives you permission to give it to other people. So That's been my experience. And then it was like, well, if I give her up, then I'll have to stop thinking of myself as a victim. Yeah, even though that's what it feels like, you know. When I was a child, things happened to me. I didn't have any power. You know, I had to deal with it. Yeah, so I'm definitely a victim. But I'm an adult, and I'm still hanging onto those habits. Yeah, so when somebody does something I don't like, I automatically assume they don't like me. You know, I just make all kinds of assumptions based on what happened in my childhood, and I don't get to test them out. So, yeah. So there is a certain power in being a victim, in that it does empower you to seek revenge, restitution, or whatever. Yeah, yeah. And the most pleasurable bit of that is righteous indignation. Yeah, yeah. Righteous indignation is very pleasurable, very addictive. Yeah, yeah. Because you've been harmed. You can prove it, and you know I'm going to sort out the world. I'm going to sort them out. Yeah. But my experience is, actually, it doesn't work. Yeah. It should work. It ought to work, but it doesn't work. So let's get practical. What does work? What does work? So, well, I had to sort of backtrack again and then just examine the first 6 verses of the Dhammapada. Okay, so the first 6 verses of the Dhammapada deal with your mind, your experience, and hatred. Okay, it's very short, but it kind of took me more than 3 or 4 years of reflecting continually on that to sort of decode how profound it really is. Yeah. So this may sound a bit challenging, but you don't have to believe me. Just test it out for yourself in your meditation practice. Okay? So my experience is, people don't make you angry. They say something, and then you make yourself angry. Yeah? Yeah. Or they do something, and then you make yourself angry. So there's an event that happens, and then there's a lot of mental chatter that happens, and it happens so quickly because it's so habitual. Yeah, so you just go from there straight to the emotion. Yeah, and then the emotion feeds the thought, and then the thought justifies the emotion. Yeah, it's because you did this, that's why I felt this, and that's why I'm doing this. Yeah, that seems to be the process that happens. Yeah, okay, so when I was on a solitary retreat, so I'm there in solitude and in nice conditions in the Spanish mountains, and first week, okay. Second week, all the little traumas that I thought I'd forgotten start popping up. Yeah, so the people weren't there, but I was getting upset, I was getting angry, and the only person that was there was me. Yeah. And then I kind of realized that, oh, okay, these are things that I hadn't processed. Yeah. And now that I was kind of in a good condition, my mind says, right, you're ready for this. Let's just throw in some muck. See how you handle that. Oh, you handled that prayer. Okay. Let's take do something a bit stronger, a bit stronger, a bit stronger. Yeah? And that process, I sort of realized for myself, oh, okay, something bad happens. I try to forget it. I think I've forgotten it. And then bad people trigger it. Yeah? But it's still there. It's still there like a sort of landmine, just waiting to be triggered. Yeah? And the solution was, to do a mind sweep. Get yourself into really good conditions and then examine the past, all the past, and just see what turns up. And every time something turns up, feel it in the body. Notice the history behind it, the assumptions that the child held while that was happening. And then take care of the child. What does the child need that it didn't have? What resources do I have that the child didn't have? Because, it didn't have the resources, but it tried to cope the best it could. Yeah? And one way of coping is denial. One way of coping is unmindfulness. Yeah? And another way of coping is hatred. Yeah. So these are all coping mechanisms for things that happened that my child at the time wasn't able to deal with, and there was no adult who was able to help that child deal with it. And so I could be the parent to my child and integrate that child back into me. And so empower that child, because I have the power now. Yeah? I cannot control the past. The past has happened, and I cannot control the future, but I can control how I respond in the future to things that happened in the past. And thereby, I'll have a much more creative response rather than a reactive response. Yeah. So, suppressing my feelings is not an option. I have to sort of name the feeling I'm feeling. Yeah, that's it. Then I have to give up blaming. I can't blame other people, and I can't blame myself. Yeah, it's not helpful to blame yourself because you're just piling on unnecessary suffering. And it's no good blaming other people, because by blaming other people, you're giving away your power to them, so they get to decide how you feel. Yeah, and so by not blaming, you can just observe directly what is happening, and then you can transform that poison. And that poison is usually speech, but it can be body language, the way somebody looks at you, or the way somebody talks at you, or whatever. Yeah, it really gets into the province of physical violence. Yeah, but the fear of physical violence, it's just for me, it was just a remnant of the past. It was just a threat. Yeah, it didn't actually happen, but again, I have to sort of mentally unpack that during my meditation session. Yeah, I'm sitting on the cushion, I'm feeling fearful. What's going on? I'm sitting on the meditation cushion, I'm feeling a pain in my neck. Somewhere in the past, somebody's been a pain in the neck. Or I'm feeling, my gut is wrenching. Yeah, I was given a gut-wrenching blow somewhere in the past. Not physical, but just kind of psychological. Yeah, is it in the heart? Am I feeling cold? Or is it in the throat? Am I feeling tight? All this sort of physical responses, I have to sort of unthread them. Okay, so this is the physical response. What goes with it? What thought goes with it? What feeling goes with it? Oh, when I have this thought, Yeah, these feelings come with it. So thought, feeling, emotions gets kind of intertwined. And so, I go through the process of unraveling them. Okay. It's because I thought this, and because I thought this, then this led to this feeling, and then that feeling reinforces this kind of thinking. And that kind of thinking makes sure that when it happens again, it becomes a well-worn path that just does it instantaneously. Yeah? And by unwinding it, I can say, oh yes, this is what's happening. I'm feeling threatened, or I'm feeling belittled, I'm feeling whatever. Oh, they said that. Is it true? Usually, it's not true. But I assume it must be true because they said it. Yeah? But just because somebody says something doesn't make it true. Okay. They said it, and then I think that. Okay, I don't check to see if, all right, is my thinking straight? My thinking isn't straight. If I'm angry, certain thoughts, I cannot think clearly when I'm angry or when I'm upset. Okay, so I need to calm myself down. What do I need to calm myself down in order to actually objectively look at what is really happening rather than getting lost in my thoughts or my feelings or acting out. Yeah. Okay, so it will be like the difficult people, they're provoking this response. Okay, so they're provoking this response by doing that or saying that or whatever. And then, okay, what is a more creative response? I know what the reaction is. Yeah, it's either anger, hurt, blame, or whatever. Yeah, I think they're hurting me, but when I analyze it, I'm hurting myself. All they did was say, slap yourself, but then I was the one that slapped myself. They can say, slap yourself, and if I don't do anything, nothing happens. Yeah. So that's the power of words. They can shape your thinking, and they can misshape your thinking. And if I'm talking to myself internally as well, I have to be very careful, to sanitize my thinking. Is this thought helpful? Is this thought kind? Is this thought relevant? Yeah. Not all thoughts. Well, 90% of all the thoughts I have are pretty rubbish. Yeah, they're quite repetitive. They don't do any good, and they're quite habitual. So I've had those thoughts before. They didn't help before, and they're not going to help now. So I can choose to recognize. Oh yes, that's that thought. Oh yeah, that's resentment. Let it go. Get to the real root of what's going on. Yeah, instead of wallowing in resentment and sort of feeding that resentment. Yeah. Oh, right. They hurt my pride. Okay. So why am I proud of this? What is it that's going on that's making me proud? Yeah. And it's usually, behind it, it's a fear. Yeah. A fear. Now, and by examining that fear, okay, I can still acknowledge my achievement, but I don't need to be proud of it. And if I give up pride, then I don't need to be ashamed either. Yeah, I make mistakes. Other people make mistakes. So why should I hide my mistakes? Why should I punish other people for making mistakes? Oh, I punish myself for making mistakes. Yeah, all right. So let's stop doing that. See what happens if I don't punish myself for making mistakes. See what happens, if I don't retaliate. See what happens if I have a much more human view of myself rather than either a knight in shining armor that's going to right everything, a victim that's always been picked on. Yeah. Let's see what happens if I change the way I approach, how I view myself, and how I view my other people, and then what my expectation is, and how realistic are my expectations. Yeah. Am I setting myself up for disappointment because I expect too much from people? Or am I being cynical? Yeah? Am I being cynical? Yeah, which is just another form of naivety. Yeah? You would think, they're the opposite, but yeah, you have to be naive to be cynical. Yeah, okay? So, just see life a bit more realistically, a bit more objectively, rather than through the lens of it's me versus the world, or is the world against me. Yeah, those are thoughts, natural, but unnecessary. And if I question them, then I get more to the root of what is driving my thinking, my behavior, my interpretation of the world. So by paying attention during the metabhavana and the mindfulness of what is happening physically in the sensations of the body, and then expanding it out to the feeling tone, my feeling tone, what's happening? Am I feeling a bit tired? What happens when I feel tired? Yeah, am I a bit wound up? What happens when, what thoughts goes with those? And then just observing the thoughts. So not believing my thoughts, just observing them. Oh, I think this, and then I think this, and then I think this. And then there's another thought that says I shouldn't be thinking that, but in order not to think that, I have to think it. Yeah, and so I can wrap myself up in all kinds of knots. Yeah, and then I have to kind of unknot myself. Okay, yeah. So instead of not doing something, I just have to state things in a positive way. Yeah. So instead of I mustn't be unkind. It must be no. You can be kinder. Yeah. State things in the positive, what you want. And if my experience is, if you state things in the positive as to what you want rather than what you don't want, you're more likely to get it. Because when you say you don't want something, you have to put a lot of energy in not wanting it. But the universe doesn't care about that. It just cares about, what's the intention? Oh, this is what you're thinking about. Okay, I'll give you that. Yeah. So if you say, I don't ever want to meet that person again, they're going to crop up quite often. Yeah. Whereas, where if you want to say, if you put in the positive, the next time I meet that person, I'm going to be kinder towards them. Yeah. Then it doesn't matter if they pop up again. Yeah. And in fact, by transforming the way I think about things, it transforms my interaction with people. And they seem pretty obvious because I can notice when people are hiding their hostility in nice words. It doesn't really fool me. I'm still cautious around them. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm thinking I'm being nice, but actually I'm just hiding it. And they just kind of notice that. But when I'm genuinely nice to somebody who wasn't nice to me, they get that. The fact that I'm not pretending and I'm being genuine and I'm actually trying, and they react differently. So I have to stop lying to myself or stop deceiving myself. When I stop doing that, then I don't need to deceive other people. Yeah, and then I don't get angry when other people deceive me, because I've done that too. And why can't people see that they're lying to themselves? Well, I've done that too. It took me a long time to see that I'm lying to myself, but I know why I was lying to myself, because I couldn't face those parts of myself. So why not give other people a break? They're going through their process as well. Yeah. So the way I communicate with myself, the more I understand myself, the more I can be patient and tolerant with other people. And the more I can be patient and tolerant with other people, the more I can be patient and tolerant with myself. So it's a kind of win-win situation. Yeah. And then there's the subtle aspect of what I call addictive poisons. Yeah. Okay. So, when the pest control try to kill mice and rats, yeah, the way they do it is not is by giving them free food, yeah, okay. So the mice thinks suddenly they don't have to go around the house finding the food. There's lots of free food available. But the mice aren't dumb, yeah? They know that if some other rat eats that free food and then they die within a day or two, yeah, that food is poison and they will avoid it even though it's laying around, yeah? But what they do is they give them a slow poison. Yeah, so it's not something that will kill them instantaneously. It's something that may take weeks to work. And in that circumstance, people, the rats don't see the correlation between eating the free food and the devastation of them dying at a later date. Yeah. Okay, so let's take it up to the human level. So what happens when people are fed free poisons? Well, what are those free poisons? Nicotine, it will not kill you immediately. Wait 20 years, you will get cancer. Alcohol, it will not kill you immediately. Wait 20 years, you will get cirrhosis of the liver and all the other things that come with alcohol poisoning. Yeah? Caffeine, wait a couple of years, and so all the things that were sort of encouraged that in the short term relieve the pain of our everyday experience. Yeah. I can't do without a cup of coffee. I can't relax without having a drink or whatever. Yeah, all those things. Yeah, as far as the bodies are concerned, are poisons, but they're slow poisons because the body can handle it in small doses, but over the years, yeah, it erodes our body's ability to regenerate and to maintain itself. Yeah, yeah, and as far as the manufacturers of these poisons are concerned, you get to pay for it. You get to pay to poison yourself. Yeah, so they don't mind. Yeah, and that's why they spend so much time advertising this. Yeah, they want to get you hooked on whatever the poison is. Yeah, and the latest poison, as far as I can observe, is gambling. Yeah, people pay lots of money to lose money in the hope of making lots of money, which they will never make, because if you do the statistics, it's not profitable. Yeah, but since most people don't do statistics, the maths behind it, and they believe in luck. They carry on doing it month after month, yeah, wasting money in order for the hope of gaining money. And in the meantime, they're impoverishing themselves. Yeah? And the only winners are the people who run the lottery. And they just give a bit of cut to the government to pay for what the government should have paid for anyway. Yeah? So, yeah, if you notice, in 5 or 10 years' time, a lot of youth gambling epidemic, yeah, that's been constructed even now. You know, that is the poison that is being given to people now, so that by the time they're adults, they get hooked on it. Yeah, yeah. Previous generation, after the First World War, it was nicotine, cigarettes. Yeah. Soldiers in the trenches, very traumatic, free cigarettes. When the war's over, the soldiers are still addicted to the cigarette, but this time they have to pay for it. Yeah? The cigarette companies made a lot of money, very patriotic, giving free cigarettes to soldiers, and they make it afterwards. Yeah? And then when they can't make it in the West, they just export it to China or other African countries, and they get, yeah. So now we have protection against some of the poisons, yeah, but in other countries, you don't have that protection. So the youth get indoctrinated, persuaded into trying that, yeah? Yeah. So just look at your past, which poisons were you indoctrinated in? Which poisons were you? And then what would happen if you gave that up? Well, there will be a period of pain, cold turkey, yeah, because your body is used to that hit. Yeah, and that's just the way the human body works. Yeah, it works on pleasure and pain, and conditioning works on pleasure and pain. So, if the system is set up to reward certain behavior and to punish certain behavior, most people will just go through the easy path. Yeah, and the easy path is choose your favorite drug to cope. Yeah, rather than examining why are you coping with this in the first place? Why do you need to cope with this? Yeah, what do you need to do to stop engaging in the system that traumatizes you, so that you have to use these drugs in order to cope? Yeah. Yeah. So meditation and reflection is a means of detoxifying your body and your mind, to wind back and to be clear about what's going on, yeah, and then to make the necessary adjustment you need, yeah, the painful adjustment you need to be more realistic, yeah, to actually deal with reality rather than escape it or fight it, yeah, or submit to it. No, reality is something that we create together. And so this environment that we're living in influences us, but we can influence it. But first, we have to start with ourselves. So how much influence do you have over your emotions? How much influence do you have over your thoughts? How much influence do you have over your actions? And when you hear yourself saying, I have no choice, you have no influence. You are being controlled. So find out who the controller is. Yeah, get to the root of the problem rather than just fighting figments of the imagination. You'll be given all kinds of, is this group's fault or this or other? Yeah. Stop playing the blame game and just actually see, okay, how am I harming myself? How am I harming other people? And if I'm not aware I'm harming other people, why should other people be aware that they're harming me? Yeah. So I like to end with My favorite poem at the moment, and it's called Autobiography in 5 Short Chapters, and it's by Portia Nelson. You can Google it under There's a Hole in My Sidewalk. Yeah, so the sidewalk is the American version of pavement. Yeah. Chapter 1. I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I'm lost. I'm helpless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out. Chapter 2. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in that same place. But it isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out. Chapter 3. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it there. I still fall in. It's a habit. But my eyes are open. I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately. Chapter 4. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Chapter 5. I walk down another street.